Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the entire royal household face unprecedented drama today. We reveal shocking developments as Princess Anne delivers her final demand to Queen Camilla regarding the precious crown jewels. Exclusive insiders confirm that Princess Anne has issued an uncompromising ultimatum to Queen Camilla concerning her late mother's treasured heirlooms, allegedly hidden away by Queen Camilla since Queen Elizabeth's passing in 2022. This revelation stunned the entire royal family when Princess Anne exposed the reality behind Camilla's actions in her attempt to claim the late Queen's precious jewels. A royal confrontation unfolds inside the hidden battle for Queen Elizabeth's lasting legacy. The hushed hallways of Windsor Castle, where legends are both created and lived, now witness a scandal that could reshape the contemporary monarchy and reveal deep cracks within its foundation. After Queen Elizabeth II's death, royal custodians conducted their standard assessment and uncovered a shocking reality within the secure vaults and collections. Several priceless artifacts vanished during the late monarch's final period. Initially, Buckingham Palace remained silent on the matter. However, Anne, the Princess Royal, renowned for her steadfast devotion and her refusal to tolerate deception, began hearing persistent and troubling whispers. At first, it seemed like routine protocol, rarely mentioned beyond palace walls. Following strict guidelines, a small, discreet team was tasked with confirming the authenticity of both the crown jewels and the late Queen's personal treasures. What began as a quiet administrative task slowly descended into turmoil and ultimately became about managing panic. Clearly, something serious was wrong. This wasn't about misplaced accessories or forgotten belongings. These objects represented the royal family's very essence. Among them was a diamond floral pin that Queen Victoria had gifted Elizabeth before her coronation ceremony. But the pin had disappeared. Also missing was the sapphire and diamond choker that the Queen wore during significant state occasions to symbolize the Commonwealth's strength and continuity. She wore it to represent the institution's solidarity and permanence. These weren't merely expensive possessions. They formed part of the monarchy's public and private identity. Their absence created a hollow space in the nation's story. The palace moved swiftly to contain the situation before a major scandal erupted. Public statements and media leaks were strictly forbidden. Only the most senior royals were briefed. They were expected to grasp the severity and avoid raising suspicions. Everything changed when Princess Anne uncovered the reality. Given her fierce dedication and almost mystical connection to royal heritage, Anne's response differed completely from expectations. She made no immediate declarations. Her expression stayed composed, maintaining perfect control. Yet beneath that calm and watchful exterior burned a fierce and calculated fury that had no patience for diplomatic niceties. These were more than mere artifacts. They represented her mother's 7-decade reign, Britain's monarchical continuity, and now they had vanished. Anne suddenly recalled the peaceful final moments with her mother before her death. She vividly remembered the Queen's last conversations. According to the Queen, each heirloom held value far beyond its precious stones and metals. They carried sacred responsibility, heritage, and identity. Their transfer required reverence. She had selected the sapphire pendant for her great-granddaughter, Princess Charlotte, to wear someday. The Victorian pin, serving as a link between generations of powerful royal women, was destined for Anne. Someone had disrupted this order. An individual had shattered this sacred sequence. Initially, palace staff offered explanations that seemed reasonable but unconvincing. They claimed it was administrative confusion. During the complicated household transition following the Queen's death, minor mistakes occurred. But the excuse failed. The strict inventory system had operated flawlessly for generations. The tracking procedures were extremely rigorous. Neither heirloom was simply misplaced. Someone had deliberately relocated them. As Anne's concerns intensified and her demands for royal archive access grew stronger, Camilla emerged from the quiet discussions and evasive answers. Staff frequently noticed irregularities with items under the Queen Consort's supervision, though only briefly. No documentation existed for pieces worn at private functions. Despite lacking official explanations, a consistent pattern of confusion remained. In her anger, Anne became strategic. She couldn't storm Buckingham Palace or make public accusations. Instead, she would pursue the truth with the quiet, relentless determination that only someone who had spent their entire life managing royal scandals could possess. Camilla might have believed her new position granted her authority over royal symbols, and realized that crowns don't create meaningful legacies. Legacies come from what you preserve. This involved more than stolen objects. Beyond heritage and devotion, it represented a betrayal that Princess Anne refused to overlook. Then, someone from the shadows made the crucial breakthrough, reaching out beyond the castle walls with calm urgency. The caller chose their words extremely carefully. For years before the coronation, during relatively peaceful times, she had worked as Camilla's personal aide, carrying something far more dangerous than rumors or speculation. She revealed a hidden storage space. The room at Ray Mill House, Camilla's secluded retreat in Wiltshire, was neither a royal repository nor a government facility. It was a private chamber under constant surveillance. According to the former aide, historically significant items had been secretly transferred there. Items that had sparkled during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Anne listened silently as each word sunk in, every one representing a puzzle piece she was beginning to understand with terrifying clarity. The assistant claimed she wanted to correct a mistake that had haunted her for months, seeking neither money nor fame. Among the items she identified was the Queen's famous emerald and diamond choker, unrecorded in royal inventory since her death. She also mentioned a missing sapphire pin and a pearl tiara with decisiveness for which she is known. She contacted 2 trusted Royal Protection Command members, committed to absolute discretion. Interview 1. They received a covert assignment while reassessing Ray Mill House security. They discovered evidence supporting the assistant's accusations and eliminated any possibility of misunderstanding. The vault existed. Access was restricted, and both digital and physical records had been completely erased. However, the inventory the team compiled, secretly recorded, photographed, and analyzed, revealed everything. Dozens of the Queen's artifacts had been moved and mislabeled with inaccurate family designations instead of proper Royal Collection Trust tracking numbers. By this point, it was obvious this wasn't misfiling, this was concealment. Princess Anne allegedly delivered her final ultimatum to Queen Camilla regarding her mother's jewels, reportedly hidden by Queen Camilla after Queen Elizabeth's death in 2022, according to insider sources. This action shocked the entire family when Princess Anne revealed the truth about Camilla's conduct in attempting to acquire the late Queen's jewels, and claimed Queen Elizabeth's symbols as her own. If Camilla thought these artifacts would define her role as Queen Consort, she underestimated the woman who had stood beside the Queen through decades of conflict, controversy, and stoic silence. Anne had always known the palace was a battlefield of whispered rebellions and hidden conflicts. But this was different. This was theft, not only of treasures and diamonds,
trust,
history, and a sacred tradition passed down through centuries. Now that heritage was locked behind unauthorized doors. She finished listening to whispers. Speculation had become confirmation. She prepared for the confrontation ahead. Clarence House had witnessed solemn ceremonies and uncomfortable silences. That day, its corridors seemed to tremble beneath something more fearsome than tradition approaching. Princess Anne arrived without warning. 2 senior royal advisors accompanied her, matching her composure. No media appointment or formal greeting occurred. Her authority came from crown formation, not flattery. Queen Consort Camilla was unprepared for Anne's intensity. The confrontation began immediately. Anne's words echoed through the silent, elegant chamber like lightning. She directly accused Camilla of hoarding royal artifacts belonging to the crown and its citizens. Camilla stiffened, bracing for royal fury. She attempted to dismiss the accusation as ridiculous, but Anne continued. She mentioned Ray Mill House's secret vault, the missing treasures, and the tampering with the Queen's heritage. Camilla snapped, visibly shaken. She claimed the items were misplaced during the confusion after the Queen's death. She called it clerical error. Her words were defensive, but her eyes revealed fear, because Anne hadn't arrived empty-handed. An advisor handed Camilla a leather portfolio. Inside were high-quality photographs of the vault's contents, detailed records comparing items to the royal collection inventory, and written, signed testimonies from 2 former staff members revealing Camilla's direct involvement in transferring the treasures. No doubt remained, undeniable evidence. Anne stared Camilla down, daring her to dispute the obvious. The emerald necklace, the Victorian sapphire pin, Princess Diana's pearls with their long and emotional history. Every piece was documented, and evidence disproved every excuse. When cornered, Camilla changed strategy. Her voice became theatrical and wounded as she proclaimed her new status as Queen Consort. She argued that the public had accepted her position, that these precious objects were safe, and that she had the right to honor the Queen in her own way. Anne cut through the deception like a blade. Respect isn't inherited, it's earned. This isn't about sentiment, it's about truth. She reminded Camilla that the Queen had made her intentions clear for these artifacts, and Camilla had trampled them under ceremonial authority. Anne's final warning was quiet but devastating. If the treasures weren't returned to the royal collection immediately and honestly, she would expose everything. The palace wouldn't cover up or issue press office denials, just the raw, unvarnished truth for the British people who still treasured Queen Elizabeth and her legacy more than the new establishment's courtly displays. Camilla stayed silent. She didn't need to speak. Their heavy silence said everything. But Camilla didn't surrender quietly. Her retaliation rocked the royal family and threatened to tear them apart. Unprepared but determined, Camilla relied on her decades of surviving public scrutiny. For her, silence was strategy, not defeat. Hours after Anne left Clarence House, Camilla strategically went directly to the king without her usual advisors. She didn't present facts like Anne. Instead, she twisted reality to portray Anne as aggressive, inflexible, and dangerously uncontrolled. She described the visit as a humiliating home invasion, not a noble pursuit of justice. Charles, already struggling to manage a monarchy in transition, faced an impossible choice. On one side stood his sister, the symbol of tradition and duty. On the other, his wife, who had supported him through public criticism and into the throne room. Camilla delivered her account with subtle threats and emotional manipulation. She warned that Anne's destabilizing actions could trigger a media storm the monarchy couldn't survive. She urged him to act to protect the institution's dignity, but she wanted control. She intended to get it. Behind the scenes, Camilla began manipulating influence. She whispered to senior advisors, hinted at Anne's unpredictable behavior, and skillfully aligned herself with courtiers who feared Anne's growing popularity and unwavering authority. Her masterstroke was drafting an unofficial royal decree for the king's consideration. It recommended dramatically reducing Princess Anne's ceremonial roles. The most significant suggestion was removing her from future Order of the Garter ceremonies, a symbolic and deeply emotional blow that would strip her of one of the monarchy's most honored responsibilities. This was beyond petty politics. It threatened Anne's legacy, public image, and family influence. The proposed decree shocked the inner circle. Advisors chose sides. Some questioned Camilla's motives, but remained quiet, fearing job loss. Others embraced her growing influence and narrative. A secret, deadly family division poisoned every space they occupied. Then came a private message for Anne. Prince William, always loyal to the institution and his aunt, sought him out. Despite his grave warning, he supported her and acknowledged what she had witnessed. "Move carefully," he advised. "Your battle with Camilla has escalated. This isn't about surrender, but understanding the stakes." Anne quietly examined the draft decree in her study. The words didn't intimidate her. They strengthened her resolve. Now the conflict was about more than heirlooms. This wasn't about Camilla. The issue was principle, protecting a legacy from politics, entitlement, and manipulation. The struggle was institutional, not personal. Anne continued fighting. Anne looked to history when Camilla held little power while royal politics unfolded. She knew her mother too well to believe the Queen, a meticulous planner and forward thinker, would have left her most precious jewels to chance. She was right. A sealed envelope remained in a secure drawer at the Royal Archives, held by the Lord Chamberlain's office. It bore only Queen Elizabeth II's personal cipher. Most assumed it contained ceremonial farewells or final blessings, since it hadn't been opened since the Queen's death. Inside, Anne discovered something more significant. Elizabeth's handwritten letter was personal and unmistakable. With decades of wisdom, the Queen's words were measured yet passionate. She saw the monarchy as a living story of duty, sacrifice, and careful stewardship, not a mechanism. In that story, her heirlooms were more than brilliant gems. They were symbols of history, lineage, and memory. She listed them individually with firm resolve. The Queen intended the sapphire necklace, long rumored to be priceless, for her great-granddaughter Princess Charlotte to carry the strength of her bloodline. She called it a bridge between past and future queens. The Queen's tone stated her intention. She appointed Princess Anne as her ultimate guardian. Rather than status or position, the Queen wrote, "Anne more than anyone understands what legacy costs." No legal document was necessary for Anne. She had maternal instruction. She entered the next senior royal advisor meeting with quiet thunder, carrying that letter. No shouting or dramatics occurred. She placed the letter openly on the polished mahogany table. A long silence followed. Could Elizabeth II speak from beyond with greater clarity and authority than any living monarch? Every advisor understood the significance. Anne was no longer acting from suspicion or hostility. She was fulfilling her mother's final sacred command. Restoration was now the objective, not proving Camilla wrong. The Queen had redrawn a nearly erased line in her own ink. The atmosphere of the room changed. Doubts disappeared. Loyalties realigned. Finally, momentum shifted. Anne, who had never sought a crown but always carried its weight, stood taller than ever. With her mother's dying words, she prepared to break through Camilla's defenses permanently. The royal family has survived wars, scandals, and public betrayals, but leaks can destroy their carefully crafted narrative. When the story first broke in a well-sourced society column, then spread to international tabloids, it was explosive. Missing royal heirlooms, Queen Camilla's secret vault, Princess Anne's confrontation. It spiraled out of control. Global media erupted overnight. Headlines screamed, "Camilla hoarding royal jewels. Anne confronts Queen Consort over Elizabeth's final wishes." Buckingham Palace's carefully maintained facade crumbled. Nobody knew the story's source, but its details, the Victorian pen, the Clarence House confrontation, were too precise to be gossip. The timing was also calculated. Just days after Anne faced Camilla privately, the entire world knew what happened. The Queen's legacy became national controversy.
The media frenzy was unprecedented since Diana's turbulent period. Every image of Camilla, every public appearance was scrutinized for hidden meaning. The brooch, once a symbol of Queen Elizabeth's strength, now represented a monarchy in crisis. Buckingham Palace scrambled. The press office released a brief, sanitized statement attempting to calm the storm. There is no truth to speculation regarding missing artifacts. The royal family honors Her late Majesty according to tradition. But the public didn't believe it. The vague denial raised more questions. Camilla's palace supporters tried spinning the story, but public opinion had already shifted dramatically. Princess Anne, the quiet princess who never pursued fame, became a folk hero with a reputation for honesty and devotion to her mother. Publicly, she said nothing. No interviews, no explanations, just dignified silence. Her silence spoke louder than any official denial. At the palace, Camilla panicked. The leak humiliated her, undermined her authority, and damaged her new title. Worse, it portrayed her as a usurper, not a guardian, exactly as Anne had accused. She suspected Anne had orchestrated the disclosure to win public support. Her paranoia widened the family rift. Behind closed doors, she demanded greater press control and internal influence. What Camilla and most others within those walls didn't realize was that Anne hadn't leaked anything. She didn't need to. Truth, under too much pressure, finds its own way out. Someone else had lit the fuse. Someone with access, purpose, and enough anger to watch it burn. London was in chaos when an unexpected voice emerged from across the ocean. Prince Harry, living in California, watched the unfolding drama with growing concern. This story pierced through his separation from royal life. He called Anne, not his father or brother. Harry revealed that Princess Diana had told him years ago that heirlooms tended to vanish with new titles and marriages. He remembered her showing him pieces from her collection, quietly telling him which belonged to the people and which to the women who had served the crown with honor. He possessed letters and private photographs, including one of a pearl bracelet missing from the royal archives. Diana had written and designated it for Princess Charlotte to teach future generations that strength doesn't always require sparkle. Harry provided Anne with encrypted, unfiltered evidence. Diana's handwriting was unmistakably curved. One letter even mentioned Camilla, not to accuse, but to warn. Be cautious about what gets claimed through marriage. Not everything that glitters comes from love. With Diana's words, the puzzle became sharp and painful. The pearl bracelet was in Camilla's vault. Diana had never relinquished it. When Anne told Harry his mother's words could restore what was lost, he didn't hesitate. He said use them, providing private testimony. Charles found himself caught between his son's defense of Diana's memory and his wife's power struggle due to his support. Though grateful, Anne remained clear-sighted, she told Harry. Once this door opens, it won't close. Because she was cornered, Camilla made one final desperate move. She appeared at a royal charity event with a fragile smile. She wore the missing Victorian pin on her chest, the very one Anne had demanded. Camilla announced it was misfiled. I wear this today in reverence for the traditions Her late Majesty cherished. This belongs here. Every right belongs to me. Hours later, Anne appeared at a somber veterans memorial. No crown or jewels, just a simple regimental pin and the poppy her mother had worn on her lapel. She didn't mention Camilla or the brooch, but her words to the servicemen were more powerful than any attack. True heritage doesn't require display, she said, her voice steady. It requires honor. The public immediately connected the message. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Camilla's disastrous performance reignited the storm. Bloodlines and betrayal would clash privately in the final reckoning. The ultimate confrontation occurred at Balmoral Castle, the monarchy's sanctuary. Anne and Camilla met quietly behind closed doors. At their side was the neutral Duke of Kent, a silent witness. Anne presented the Queen's handwritten letter, the vault inventory, staff testimonies, and Diana's notes, now endorsed by Harry, with cold finality. The evidence was overwhelming. Camilla made one final plea, claiming she had only acted to preserve the Queen's spirit, but Anne's response was devastatingly simple. Legacy isn't something you wear. You protect it. You nearly destroyed what you wanted to display. Camilla recognized defeat. She returned everything on the condition that the matter would never be discussed again. Anne agreed to preserve the monarchy's fragile unity, but her eyes showed that silence didn't equal forgiveness. After the meeting, Anne looked at Camilla one final time. Her slow, weighted words were unforgettable. "Touch the crown's property again," she said, "and I won't merely knock, I'll break down doors." In the following weeks, the heirlooms quietly returned to the royal collection, settling back into their rightful places. But damage was done. Power within the royal walls had shifted forever. Princess Anne became the quiet, formidable guardian of the crown's integrity. Camilla remained beside the king, but walked with caution. Her authority was shattered, her ambitions damaged. The heirlooms were restored, but trust was not. A monarchy built on heritage and values finds its fractures harder to repair than wealth. Thank you for watching this revelation. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time.